So I'm going to do today's collective read, and I'm taking on a pretty challenging topic. But I know people do want to know, especially with what's going on, kind of, readings on the subject. I didn't come to YouTube to necessarily talk about, simple things like, you know, um, fluffy stuff. I want to use tarot to kind of get into world topics, world views, things that really impact us in the physical world. I do want to deal with teaching tarot. Do not get me wrong. I want to do things like that, but I want to take on also world topics and kind of guide people with tarot. A big thing that is going on right now. I know a lot of people are wanting to know this, and I want to explain. As I'm going to do this, tarot is kind of funny. And psychic reading, is that sometimes things, it's really up to spirit if we know the information or not. So take it with a grain of salt what I say, but I can just let you know what the cards are saying for me now. Could something curtail everything and totally shift it? Yes, we're not perfect. We could be fallible, but I'm going to let you know what the cards are saying, on this right now, because I know a lot of people want to know. And there are times, I have done some pretty good predictions with tarot. I've been reading for 20 years. I've read a lot of people, their situations. I've got a lot of good feedback. You can find me on Facebook at Spiritually Intuitive Readings. That's my group. And also Spiritually Intuitive Readings by Ellen Gillen is my page. And you can check my recommendations and everything. What I want to kind of talk about, we are dealing with pandemic, which has been very devastating. And we are now dealing with a lot of protests. There has been a lot of injustice that has been going on. And how is this going to impact the election of Trump? That is something that a lot of people are very curious on. And like I said, I didn't come to YouTube just to talk about fluffy stuff. Let's talk about some bigger things that maybe some tarot readers don't necessarily want to take on. I'm going to take on this topic, kind of what I'm seeing. We're dealing with some very challenging issues. We've got a tower moment and we've got a ruin moment. And this is the way our country is going at the moment. We got very hard hit with the pandemic, and then now we're dealing with ruin. So we're doing a very strong breakdown of the way things were. The thing that Trump had on his sign was the gain card. So we had a good economy. The economy was good. But what people kind of need to understand, and I know I'm going to get some flack, but is Obama was the reason that we got a good jump start on the economy, is what people don't understand. He was building and building that. So by the time he took office, yeah, we were doing pretty good, right? Okay, people need to kind of understand it was getting to that point anyway. But yeah, and he probably did make certain moves that did help the economy. So I'm not going to say he did nothing. Do not get me wrong. But we had a good economy. Notice again, people were making money, people had jobs, everything was going really good. But then, the tower moment, we got hit with the pandemic, which is incredibly devastating. And now we're dealing, to the point we've got protests. So we've got a complete breakdown. The economy has broken down. Um, and I do feel, just so you know, if people are worried about the economy, can we build? I do feel we can build again if we make the right moves. So try not to fear. We don't want to be in a fearful place. We don't want to be in a fearful place. But I do take note, there is something that, when I have read people, because let's face it, the president position is a job. Okay, when you're being elected, you're being hired for a job by the American people. When I have read for people, if they come to me and they say, will I get a job? And I read for them. If I see this card, the answer is a no. And this is a futility card. So it's futile. Okay, it's very, very blatant. And this card is showing. Another thing that is coming up is I have two cards which are represented with number 4. I have the luxury card, which is 4 of cups. And yes, he's been living a life of luxury. He's done a lot of golfing. He's been living good in the White House. I do have 10 of cups to represent the White House, which is, pretty, he's been happy in his home. Well, not that he's a happy person, but you know what I'm saying? He's been living a life of luxury. But I also have the card truce. Okay, and this is also a number 4 card. This is a card truce. Right now, we have to understand in so many ways we kind of are at war. We're dealing with our tower moment. We're dealing with the ruin moment and absolute devastation of everything. But, and as you can see, everybody is protesting. Everybody is in a very difficult, challenging position right now. They are going out there and they are raising their voices. against the police brutality because of George Floyd. Everything is devastating. We will get to a place of peace, truce, but I notice it's a four. The other thing, and you're probably going, what do you mean by four? I'm talking about 4 years. Another thing that is coming in very strongly in this read is I have a very strong feminine energy. So I do feel not only are we going to have a vice president that is a woman, so Joe Biden is going to take a female vice president candidate that comes in incredibly strong. I do not feel this will be a man. Um, I'm not sure which one. I look at the Queen of Pentacles who is crossing, and it could be Elizabeth Warren. Right now, I have three queens. So it's kind of hard to predict because I feel like he's got three options right now. That could be Kamala, Elizabeth Warren, and oh, the one lady, I'm forgetting her name. I'm sorry. I hate politics. I don't, but I know there's another one that was in there. But I do feel he is right now debating between three. I'm kind of, as I see the Queen of Pentacles crossing, and I think about how Elizabeth Warren is about, about uh, money and making the billionaires cry. I'm kind of leading that it may be her. So we will see. I will see if that prediction comes in. Another thing I take note of as we have ruin in the tower and we know the devastation of the country. I have those two fours that are showing, and I also have the card change. Okay, and this is a big one. I can't ignore change. Not only are we dealing with massive changes in the country, two, this is a two big issues with the pandemic and also with the protests, two major issues in this country change. So everything is going to change. But I also take note change. It's looking like there could be a change in office, especially with this feminine energy coming out. It's like, why are all the feminine, coming out unless this is going to be a serious thing. I also take note when I see the Six of Swords. This is my very first card. I will see this in a physical move. He does live in the White House. He does live in the White House. So when I see this for a physical move. As he lives in the White House, it is coming in strong that he could have to move out. He could have to move out. And there are things that are concerning that people are starting to see, even people that support him. I mean, people can only take so much because even though, we were dealing with a great economy and that was the main thing he had on site, a lot of people let a lot of things go because the economy was good. I have a great 401k. I have a good job. People were happy. But we are dealing with things like the lust for power. We're seeing the lust. He's made decisions. Like right now, he's trying to take on social media, just because he got fact checked on Twitter. He's got a lust for power. He uses his power to do certain things. And then I got the card debauch. So definitely there are things that he does that I notice it's a seven, like the seven deadly sins. Okay. So we've got a lot of things going on. Right now we are suffering. This is a sorrow card, and this is a big thing. This is next to change in the layout. This is next to change. So I take note that people can only take suffering for so long. So what do I end with in the end? This is one thing. Anytime I see this card, I'm like, oh my God, I have the star. And I feel like we all need to see this, the light at the end of the tunnel. This is what this card is about, is to have hope, to know we are being guided. We are being guided. This is a very difficult time, but there is light at the end of the tunnel and we're going to get there. So this is very promising. This is very promising. I didn't come here to offend people that have a different view. I am only trying to relay the information that I am seeing in this layout. That is the main thing. I can only go with, what Spirit says. I have my own personal views and so forth. And I'm sure a little bit of it kind of came out as I do this read. This country needs to heal. I want to draw some oracle cards for the awakened ones. This country needs to heal during this time. It is very important. I have the knowledge card, seek knowledge. So you see that, seek knowledge. So especially during this time, it's really important to educate yourself. I know this is super incredibly hard when it comes to the news. We are dealing with both sides trying to win you over and impact you. So also seek clarity, I would also say. I have pulled that card recently as well, but especially really kind of know what's going on. Seek knowledge. You got to really know what's going on. Really read up on certain laws that are getting enacted, certain decisions that have been being made. Get to know your candidates before you make a decision, but make an informed decision. Whatever you choose, make an informed decision. Now, I do kind of notice go with the flow, let things happen. And I know you're going to say, how would I let things happen? Um, what I'm talking about is let the spirit guide you when I say go with the flow. That in your life right now, we can only control so much. We can do our vote, but we can only control so much in our lives. We're dealing with, pandemic, and we are dealing with protests right now, and it's incredibly tragic. We are all suffering as a nation. We are all hurting right now. And so, at the same time, we've just got to kind of trust spirit and just, let the spirit guide us during this time, especially for the awakened ones during this time. But yes, right now as it stands, this is what I'm getting. Especially to see those fours, and I see that truce card is coming in very powerful. And a physical move. Normally that is you move. You may move out of state, you may move out of your house. I normally see that in a physical move. It comes in strong. But right now, this does sit at the foundation, the economy, and people may still have hope that the everything can just be restored. But I feel like the further we are getting toward election time, people are going to understand it's just not going to go back to the way things were. We're dealing with so much incredible damage with the tower and ruin. And I take note that ruin card. There was a lot of support and everything, but it's all ruined now. Okay. It's all ruined now. But yes, anytime if I'm reading an employment, just if I'm going to talk about employment, when I see the futility card, you normally don't get the job. So things change. Things have definitely dramatically changed. And I even kind of take note, that the Hierophant is showing, I feel even our spiritual leaders are going to come out and need to come out during this time, that which is really important, especially with the protests. I feel a lot of spiritual leaders are going to be coming to surface and really speaking out, because you got to kind of look at it, and they're going to start speaking out against this stuff. I have a feeling there's going to be a surface of spiritual leaders. I know even right now that is happening. There are a lot of pastors and reverends and preachers who are getting up there and speaking to people. So it is a spiritual crisis. I want you to understand this is a spiritual crisis. This is spiritual warfare. Everybody also needs to understand that too. You can't take the spiritual out of this. It is spiritual warfare going on right now. So I just hold on. Hold the light steady in the darkness is something my teacher once told me. I want you all to do that too during this time. We are in a very dark period in this country. Keep your eyes on the star. Keep your eyes on the star. There is hope. There is hope. I hope you enjoyed my read.